Welcome back to the Vernon Curling Club. It is Friday morning here at the Everest Canadian Senior Men's and Women's Curling Championships. My name is Al Cameron. I'll be bringing you play-by-play action this morning of a championship women's pool game between Saskatchewan and Quebec. Saskatchewan looking good for a playoff spot. Quebec needing a win to keep their semifinal hopes alive here today. We'll introduce you to both of these teams. The team Saskatchewan from the Martensville Curling Club. They're skipped appropriately by Nancy Martin. The vice skip is Deanna Doig. The second is Nancy Inglis, and the lead is Kathy Inglis. They are taking on Team Quebec. They hail from Thurso, Laval-sur-le-Lac, and Roberval. And the skip is Chantal Osborne. The vice skip is José Friolet. Second, Marie-José Précourt. The lead is Sylvie Daniel, and the alternate is Joelle Sabarin. But today, Joelle will draw into the lineup in place of José Friolet at third. José has some leg issues, so Joelle Sabarin will play her second straight game. She skipped this Quebec team last night as Chantal Osborne was out with back issues. Chantal back in the lineup, and it's José Friolet watching from behind the glass today. As mentioned, both these teams in the hunt for the playoffs. You got to say Saskatchewan's chances right now are better. They are leading the championship pool with a 7-1 record. They would clinch a semifinal berth with a win today. Quebec, meanwhile, needs a win, and they would need a loss from either Ontario, Alberta, or British Columbia at some point today. Quebec need to win both of their games today and need one of those teams, Ontario, Alberta, or British Columbia, to lose in order to have a chance at reaching those Final Four playoff positions. And it will be Saskatchewan with last rock here this morning. And this Saskatchewan team has been consistently good throughout. They had one hiccup yesterday, took their first loss, and that was a bit of a surprising loss, a big-time loss against Manitoba, 11-2 yesterday. Other than that, it's been nothing but W's for this Saskatchewan team. They opened with 6 straight wins in Newfoundland, Labrador, British Columbia, New Brunswick, Northern Ontario, Northwest Territories, and Alberta. As mentioned, dropped their first game last night, or yesterday afternoon, but then came back last night to defeat Nova Scotia. Team Quebec, meanwhile, they finished with a 5-1 record in the preliminary round. Wins over Nova Scotia, the Yukon, Prince Edward Island, Nunavut, and Manitoba. Their only loss in that preliminary round was against Ontario, but yesterday a tough start to the championship pool, losing twice yesterday against Alberta and the Northwest Territories, so needing a pair of wins and a little help in order to have a chance to make it into those semifinals that will take place here tomorrow morning at the Vernon Curling Club. Reminder, there's 8 teams in this championship pool, 4 from Pool A, 4 from Pool B. The top 4 teams in each of those preliminary pools crossed over to make into the championship pool. Then they crossed over to play 4 more round-robin games. And we are at the stage now where there are 2 more games to be played today, and that will get us down to our final 4 that will play off tomorrow for gold and a trip to Östersund, Sweden as Team Canada for the World Seniors. Saskatchewan early on, sitting 2. And play is in the house. And that is going to roll out from Précourt. Already a deuce is being set up for Team Saskatchewan, and this is a team that is, for the most part, played from in front. Just that one game yesterday, that 11-2 loss against Manitoba, where, well, we saw it last night here in men's play. A very good Quebec men's team playing BC, both with 5-2 records, and the Quebec men just could not make a shot for love or money. ended up losing 10-1. One of those, on any given nights, any team is beatable. Saskatchewan found that out yesterday against Manitoba. So Saskatchewan trying to protect the junior deuce here. Quebec trying to hold that shooter. Good sweeping there by that front end. Got to stay in the back four. They'd like to get it in a spot where at some point they have a shot at a double to get out of this end. Sitting two is Saskatchewan, but now does Joel Sabaran have a shot at the double? No, not yet. They're still going to play at the shot stone that's at the back button. Joel Sabaran, as mentioned, came into this event as the alternate, but she has played the last two games for Team Quebec. This is a Quebec team that does have a great deal of experience. Again, they want to hold that shooter, but it will roll out and just sit as a biter, I think. So they've got two biters, but again, it's Saskatchewan looking to split the rings, and so far they've done a good job protecting this two. That's a tough thing to do, is to protect a pair in the rings over a full end, and they've been doing that pretty well this whole end. Now it's Deanna Doig in the hack looking to draw to the open side and make sure that there's nothing left that could potentially be a double takeout attempt for Team Quebec. That could not be any further away, but it is still second shot, so just about an ideal result there for Team Saskatchewan. And Joelle Savarin now, see if she can roll it over a little closer, but again, you want to hold the shooter, it will, and avoid the jam at the back. Very nice. So now it's a hit attempt here for Deanna Doig, and the same concern about the back is about that jam at the back. Just expressed about Quebec, it's still there for Saskatchewan too, so Deanna's going to have to be careful with this. Now that little bit of a roll out by Deanna. That's a potential out now for Quebec. And they've got the chance to make this hit on shot rock and suddenly sit 3. That kind of goes back to what we've been saying all along this end, that it was going to be a big ask of Saskatchewan to protect this deuce. It's not easy. You have to make essentially 8 perfect shots with those two being splitting the rings, and just one tiny miss there, and it wasn't a miss by much, but it was enough. And now Quebec has a chance to get out of potentially giving up 2 in the first end. They would love to be able to force Saskatchewan into taking one to open this game. does roll out, but it is still Quebec sitting 2. Barely sitting 2, but they are both touching enough of that 12-foot circle that it does force Saskatchewan to draw into the rings, and they're going to try and draw to backing here. So the deuce is still on the table, but Nancy's going to have to make something good here in order to set that up. That said, the Saskatchewan team has been making lots of good shots all week, so put it past Nancy to lock this one on and still have a chance to put 2 on the scoreboard at the end of this end. Chantal Osborne with her last rock, and she's got to have a good chunk of the circle. As we mentioned, that stone Nancy Martin threw was a little light, but certainly could be splittable if this stone does not come to rest, and that'll get the job done. So it's just an open hit to score 1 for Saskatchewan, and that's a good recovery from Quebec after an early miss that had Saskatchewan sitting 2 for a good chunk of this first end. But, just the one little rollout from Deanna. As mentioned, that was barely a miss, but enough of a miss that allowed Quebec to get off the hook. Final shot here in this first end. Saskatchewan looking to hit for the single, looking at 3 Quebec stones. It's a room to roll to here for Nancy as well, so Nancy and Nancy going to work on this to keep it straight, gotta get the job done. So it is a single point for Saskatchewan to open this game. Quebec will have last rock when we come back after this. Welcome back to the Vernon Curling Club as we head into the second end of this morning's feature game between Quebec and Saskatchewan. Was Saskatchewan being forced to take a single point? You know, that's kind of one of those things that you discuss as a team. Obviously, Saskatchewan would have come out of the gates looking to get that deuce in the first end, but you know, I've heard many a coach say, you know what, don't be disappointed with the one. You're leading on the scoreboard. That's always a good place to be. And if you'd stolen that point, you'd be ridiculously happy. So yes, you didn't get the deuce, but you're in the lead. Only one team is in the lead at the end of the game, and if you start the game in the lead, it certainly gives you an advantage later on. But now Quebec, their priority will be to answer back with the deuce. That rock slips into the rings. So Saskatchewan will have a chance to make the hit to sit 2 here. Kathy Inglis works at Yorkton Aircraft Service. She's an office administrator there. And like this entire Saskatchewan team, has a ton of national level experience. Seniors at the Scotties, mixed. Of course, that Inglis family in Saskatchewan, just essentially curling royalty. So many of these Inglis, there's been lots of Inglises do lots of amazing things in curling in Saskatchewan. And of course, Nancy and Kathy, their sister Joan, you know her as Joan McCusker, gold medalist in 1998. So plenty of experience up and down this Saskatchewan lineup. And some good family ties as well. So it still is Saskatchewan sitting just the 1. There's the corner guard played. Quebec. Sylvie Daniel making that draw. Now we'll get to see the second Inglis on this team. This is Nancy Inglis. She works for Associated Engineering. She's the divisional manager of the water division in Regina. Marie-Josée Précourt. She's also played in a number of Canadian championships. She'll make the hit. And it is Quebec sitting shot rock. Saskatchewan will try a little hit and roll here, see if they can sit a couple and get one buried behind that short corner, their own corner guard over there. That will roll out. So now Quebec will see if they can use their own corner guard. Joelle Savarin will make this attempt with her out turn, counterclockwise rotation. As mentioned, Joelle was the alternate for this team. Team Osborne, they finished second at the 2022 Everest Canadian Seniors last year. They lost 7-3 in that gold medal game against Team Sherry Anderson. Seniors last year in Yarmouth, Nova Scotia. So clearly this Quebec team arrived with some aspirations of taking one more step up that ladder, but that stone from Joelle will slide a little bit through. Now, what does Quebec do? Saskatchewan do? They are sitting shot. Deanna Doig will be asked to remove that Quebec corner guard. Just got to be a little careful here with that jam possibility. We saw Nancy Martin take a look over there just to line things up. And she knows which angle they'd like to make contact with. Might be right on the nose, though. In fact, across the face, and make the peel that way. Not the way they called it, but it still gets the job done. And conversely now, Chantal Osborne doesn't really want to leave that Saskatchewan stone that's biting in play, so Joelle will be asked to remove it. Joelle, again, another one who's no stranger to national level experience. She was a former teammate of Jennifer Jones for a time. When Jill Officer was off on maternity leave, Joelle stepped in at the lineup, and in fact, was a member of Jennifer's team that won the 2011 Canada Cup in Cranbrook. She lists Jennifer Jones as still a very significant person in her curling career. But in her own right, Joelle Savarin has had some success. In fact, she won a Canadian Mixed Championship in 2001 playing with Jean-Michel Menard. She has been on that top step of the medal podium at a national championship, and that's a pretty valuable experience to have. So looking like an open end here. Nancy Martin will try and remove that Quebec stone. Not biting, but again, as we say, very, very splittable. So we don't want to take any chances. Nancy, of course, in addition to skipping this team, very, very high level mixed doubles player. I believe she and her partner, Steve Laycock, are currently ranked second in the Canadian mixed doubles rankings. She'll make the hit. Could she get the roll behind that? No, it didn't go too far. That would have been a tasty little roll there, but it will roll too far. Chantal Osborne, she'll try and take a run at tucking a corner behind that Saskatchewan stone that's just off the rings. The only rock and play here in the second end. Nothing ventured, nothing gained. Chantal is an IT software configuration management specialist working for the Government of Canada. Also been to a few nationals, 5 Scotties, 3 Canadian mixed. This is her second Canadian seniors. Also played in the Canadian Colleges National Championships. Good chance for Chantal to get a taste of draw weight here, and I'll tell you, this is looking not bad. We can drag it just a little further. Might get a corner tucked behind that stone. Great try there. So it is a hit here for Nancy Martin to remove that. That's out in a path that haven't really thrown too many hits, if any, certainly not during practice. So this would be a learning opportunity for Nancy Martin. Makes the hit and sticks. And now, this is a little bit of a tester for a blank attempt now for Quebec. Chantal Osborne's going to have to be careful with that stone. Final shot here in this second end. It is Quebec looking to remove that Saskatchewan stone right on the nose. Maybe just a little outward flap would get the job done, but not a routine blank by any stretch of the imagination. To get a big chunk of it. Will that get it out? Yes, it will. So it is a blank, and it will be Quebec with hammer when we return for the third end after this. And we're back at the 2023 Everest Canadian Senior Men's and Women's Curling Championships here at the Vernon Curling Club. And it is Saskatchewan that will have last rock, or pardon me, Quebec that has last rock here in this third end after a blank second. Saskatchewan will just plop that in. And Quebec will try to build an end here with the corner guard. Sylvie Daniel came to curling reasonably late, and we've seen that story kind of a few times here at the Everest Seniors. She didn't start curling until she was 25. Corner was thrown up successfully. Now Saskatchewan will try and guard their own. Just continuing that story on Sylvie Daniel, as mentioned, she started curling at the age of 25. Clearly something clicked because she'd only played something like 20 games, she says, and a few weeks after starting the game, well, she was a member of Team Quebec that won the provincial mixed championship and then went to play in the nationals in Brandon, Manitoba in 1989. Clearly, she had the touch right from the get-go. Here she is at another national championship. This would be the 13th Canadian championship she's competed at various levels, and she was the MVP of the 2022 Everest Canadian Seniors in Yarmouth that this Quebec team finished second in. That little corner freeze attempt does bounce out into the open. Now the hit and roll attempt for Saskatchewan, but Deanna Doig trying to get that to carve a little. Get the job done, but it looks like the shooter will roll out. Now, Five Rock rule is not in effect anymore. It's a chance for Quebec to see if they can generate a little bit of offense. Chantel briefly considered the hit and roll on that top one behind that corner, but instead it will be the corner freeze attempt being called for Marie-Jose Précourt. Now they're going to go back and play that hit and roll. I like this call. If you've got a corner guard, you might as well use the corner guard. Don't need to throw a ton of weight at this, just make that stone go away. I think Chantel was wondering if they could do that, if the Five Rock rule. She had to look a couple times at the stones to make sure that Five Rocks had been played. And I think, as you see behind there, Marg Wright, the umpire, made sure that that yellow stone was actually on the right sheet. It might have snuck over onto the adjacent sheet. That is why Chantel Osborne couldn't count the Five Rocks. So the hit is played, and they're trying to roll that onto the rings. Stay in front, and it's in play, so a little bit of a half shot there, but it does get part of the job done. Nancy Martin was considering some options, but now she's going to ask Nancy Inglis to bring another one on top of their own shot stone that's at the top of the forefoot. That is sitting second shot. It's like another 3 feet of weight, but here's the chance for the Rays takeout. I don't think you'd be able to get the shooter onto the rings, but certainly you could. The Rays stone could roll over behind that corner guard. So Saskatchewan continuing to apply pressure here. Deanna Doig wants to protect these two stones that are sitting in the rings. Quebec in a little bit of chase mode here now in this third end. Takes away the one side draw, but I think the run back will be the call here for Joelle Sabourin. A little bit of a bailout here now for Quebec. They need to give themselves a shot here, getting late in the end. That gets a job done very nicely, and it does leave Quebec sitting one and partially behind cover. It's a great outcome there for Joelle Sabourin. Nice shot. A couple options here for Saskatchewan. Looks like they're going to defer to the short raise, get it behind those two staggered Quebec stones. And the drag would last to take this on. That's going to have to curl a bunch. Nancy Inglis trying to see if she can get a little movement off it. That's a perfect split. Wow, did that work out nice. Looks like Quebec's sitting first and third. Saskatchewan counter is removed. Now it is Quebec sitting shot stone, about 2/3 exposed. Nancy Martin's going to have to be careful with this. It is a Saskatchewan biter on the end. It looks like they may take on the double here. Double attempt underway here from Nancy Martin. Trying to get a little bit of movement on it. That'll get the job done. Very nice. And it is Saskatchewan sitting two. Yes, it did roll out enough. But Chantal Osborne can make this hit and roll. Really the only way left that this team can generate two without a miss. Chantal Osborne, all the players were asked about people who've had an influence on her career, and she was very quick to point out none other than Dave Merklinger, longtime Ottawa coach and ice maker, and now he's the manager here at the Vernon Curling Club, and one of the co-chairs of this event. Here's a great hit, and the roll is going to roll too far, though. It doesn't. What a shot by Chantal Osborne. That is shot rock. Great management of that shot there by Team Quebec. They knew they weren't going to get the roll behind the center guard, so they looked at the long roll, and it ended up in a perfect spot. Dead buried shot rock. So now Nancy Martin's going to have to play see if she can get one buried behind that short Quebec guard. Continuing shot on Chantal and Dave Merklinger. She said it's a full circle moment. Dave coached and helped me believe in myself and believed in what our team could accomplish. He was the best coach ever. Nice words about Dave Merklinger, and his team here at the Vernon Curling Club has done a wonderful job organizing these 2023 Everest Canadian Seniors. Merck, as everybody knows him, he is the co-chair along with Mark Longworth, and it's Merck's son, Mike, who is the chief ice technician for these Everest Canadian seniors. Last shot, Nancy Martin trying to get one buried behind that center guard. Going to clear it with a lot of room. There is lots and lots of finish here, but is there going to be enough? No, there will not. It is going to be pretty much wide open. And Chantal Osborne will race down to the hack. See if she can make this hit. She's got a little bit of rings to roll to if she needs to. That would be 2 on the board for Team Quebec. Great opportunity for Quebec. That would be the classic Skip's deuce if she could make this. Got to work on this to keep it straight. Is it going to be on the guard? Just touches the guard, and it will just hair by that Saskatchewan stone. It's a big break for Saskatchewan. It'll be a steal of 1 in Quebec. Down 2, we'll have Hammer when we come back to the 4th end after this. Back to the Vernon Curling Club as we head into the 4th end of this morning's feature women's game in the championship pool at the 2023 Everest Seniors. It is Saskatchewan with a 2-0 lead, forced to 1 in the first, a blank second, and then a steal of 1 for Saskatchewan. As Chantal Osborne's last shot, a hit for 2, just feathered the guard, and big game-turning point there for Saskatchewan potentially. Take a quick look at the other scores. All 8 sheets in action here this morning in the championship pool. The closing day of the round robin at the 2023 Everest Canadian Seniors. Other women's games, it is BC. Team Diane Gushlak from the Royal City Club in New Westminster. They're at 6-2, and they've got a 2-1 lead now over Team Nova Scotia at 4-4. The Saulnier team from Kentville needing a pair of wins and needing some help if they want to get into the semifinals. But it's a 2-1 lead for British Columbia early in that game. A deuce in the second end, and then a blank in the third, so it's Nova Scotia with Hammer down 2-1 in the 4th. Northwest Territories, Team Sharon Cormier having a great week here at 5-3 and taking on Ontario, and that would be a huge win for the Northwest Territories if they can bring Ontario down to 3 losses, and Northwest Territories would have the tiebreaker on them as well. But it is Ontario getting a deuce in the second end. Northwest Territories opened with a steal of 1 in the first. So it is 2-1 Ontario playing the third end. Northwest Territories with last rock. And in the other game, another big game with lots of playoff implications. Team Alberta, Tina Ford Johnston's team, with a 6-2 record, in good shape for a semifinal berth, but they keep up the pressure today. They are trailing, though, 1-0 to Manitoba team Joelle Brown from Winnipeg. Manitoba team at 4-4, and again, they'd need to win twice today, and they would need some significant help. But part of that is needing Alberta to lose, and if they can hang on to this lead. Now, that said, it's just a 1-0 lead. They took 1 in the second after a blank first. It is Alberta with last rock in the 4th end. Men's games this morning. Again, all sorts of playoff implications out there, so as you'd expect, all these 4 games are very tight. New Brunswick, Team Grant Odishaw, and PEI, Team Phil Gorvette. They're in a 1-1 tie, playing the third end. New Brunswick with Hammer in the third. New Brunswick, Team Paul Fleming at 7-1. And British Columbia, Team West Craig at 6-2. It is a 1-0 lead for Team BC. Nova Scotia Hammer in the third. Quebec looking to bounce back after a tough outing last night. They're at 5-3, but they're taking on the co-leaders, Team Saskatchewan, Bruce Cordy from Saskatoon. Saskatchewan opens with a deuce in the second. In the first end, the second end is blank, so it's Quebec with Hammer playing in the third end. And in the other game, Team Manitoba, they're looking to get closer to locking down a semifinal spot. They are taking on Newfoundland Labrador's Team Mark Noseworthy, trailing the pack at 3-5, but it is Newfoundland Labrador with a deuce in the second end. They take a 2-1 lead. It's Manitoba with Hammer in the third. You can get all the scores all the time on curling.ca/scoreboard. That's curling.ca/scoreboard. That one slides by from Quebec, and now Saskatchewan has a chance to move some of that Quebec granite. It is Quebec looking like they're sitting two. Hard to tell from the camera angle on that shot. The rocks at the top in the back 12, but looks like Nancy's going to try to take that rock off at the side 12. To hold the shooter here, but I think that's going to roll out. It will. And the call will be for the draw behind the corner guard. So that's Marie Jose Précourt. Daniel and Joel Sabaran not touching this. Maybe just a little bit hot, and Nancy Martin will take it out of the back of the circle. A little bit of a miss there from Quebec that gives Saskatchewan a chance to remove that other counting Quebec stone, and that would leave Saskatchewan sitting two. Deanna Doig, she works for TransCanada Energy. She's the Director of Canadian Liquids Field Operations. She'll make the hit and roll. And it is Saskatchewan sitting two. Quebec needing to generate a pair here and just get some of the momentum back. They're going to ignore those two Saskatchewan stones and ask Joel Sabaran to see if she can draw behind that corner. Joel Sabaran, she's got two sons that are very prominent in hockey in Quebec. Alexis Bourque, he's an 18-year-old defenseman playing in the QMJHL for the Blainville-Brosbriand Armada, and her 15-year-old son is a 6'3" bruiser who's playing for the Outaouais Intrépides, the midget AAA team in Gatineau. So she spends a lot of time in ice rinks, whether it's curling or hockey during the winter. That rock didn't curl, so now Nancy Martin has the open hit to give to Deanna Doig. got to think at some point Quebec's going to make one of those draws and build a deuce here, but so far, Saskatchewan's been able to slip out of every situation early in these first few ends. The only disappointment for Saskatchewan was getting forced to one in that first, but the steal of one in the third certainly helped their cause. Deanna Doig will make that hit and stick. And it is Saskatchewan sitting 3. So Joël Chabaran will be asked to play the freeze to that Saskatchewan stone that was just thrown. Quick reminder, there will be one more round of championship pool play that will take place tonight at 6 p.m. At 6 p.m. Pacific, 9 p.m. Eastern. You'll be able to watch games right here on Curling Canada Plus as well as on TSN Plus. Once that draw is over, we'll know the 4 semifinal teams for both men's and women's that will play Saturday morning at 8:30 here at the Vernon Curling Club. Just a little bit heavy, and that rock does bounce out into the open. Now it's Nancy Martin that will settle in to take this on and see if Saskatchewan can sit 4. Nancy's one of those fresh seniors, just turned 50. She's a civil servant. As mentioned, she and her partner Steve Laycock currently second in the Canadian mixed doubles rankings behind Laura Walker and Kirk Myers. Of course, right behind them is the other half of our broadcast tandem here, Jennifer Jones and Brent Lang, doing the broadcasts for TSN Plus. They are 3rd in the Canadian mixed doubles rankings. So the hit, a little roll. Saskatchewan now sitting 4. A little bit of a pocket built up over there. That rock is behind the tee line, and if Chantel Osborne can rock one on over there, might have a shot at a deuce here. And boy, you've got to think that scoring 2 here in this 4th end would be a big boost to Team Quebec. Shot just a hair light from Quebec, so Nancy Martin and Deanna Doig will look at their options. Trying to get a force here out of Quebec, and it's looking pretty promising right now with Saskatchewan sitting 2. They'll just draw to the open side, it looks like. Mentioned Nancy and her mixed doubles partner Steve Laycock. They played an event last weekend in Winnipeg, and got knocked out on the Saturday, so Nancy was on a plane early Sunday morning to get here to Vernon in time for practice for the Everest Canadian Seniors, and clearly that travel, kind of last-minute travel, did not affect the team. They're coming in with a 7-1 record into today's game. Can't say they've clinched yet, though. A win here, though, would clinch a semifinal berth for Team Saskatchewan. And seeing Kathy Inglis working hard in the stone, trying to drag it in. Does get in there, but Quebec sitting third shot. Now, would they ever think of... No, they're not going to. Maybe late in the game they might play that run back, but no, it's just going to be a draw to the forefoot. Now, that's no gimme draw. You've got to get through a tight little court there. Not that tight, but it's tight when you're looking at 2 Saskatchewan counters. Mentally, it's tight. But they need to basically touch the forefoot, and that'll give them the point and will get Quebec on the scoreboard. On a shot, fourth end, Chantal Osborne. Looking to see if that's going to bend a little. There's the movement now. Will it get past that guard? The tick, and the little rub gets the job done. And it will be a single point for Quebec. It'll be a 2-1 lead for Saskatchewan. They'll have the hammer when we come back. The teams will take their fourth end break. We will too. We'll be back in a few minutes here at the Burning Frame. Welcome back to the Vernon Curling Club as we head into the second half of this morning's feature game between Saskatchewan and Quebec here at the 2023 Everest Canadian Senior Men's and Women's Curling Championships. It is Saskatchewan with a 2-1 lead heading into the second half of today's game. Saskatchewan's team Nancy Martin from the Martinsville Curling Club. It's not the same spelling of Martin, if you're curious. They hold that 2-1 lead. They were forced to one in the first, stole one in the third, and Quebec got onto the scoreboard with one in the fourth. So it is Saskatchewan with last rock here in this fourth end, and a chance to lock up a playoff spot for Saskatchewan. They have a 7-1 record. 8-1 would lock it down. They'd be in those semifinals tomorrow morning here at the Vernon Curling Club. Quebec, the silver medalists last year at the 2022 seniors in Yarmouth, Nova Scotia. And they've had some opportunities get away from them here over the first four ends. To come around, we'll slide a little deep, and that just speaks a little bit to what is one of those kind of truisms in the sport of curling, that ice is always a little keener coming out of the break after they mop the ice. And you can tell yourself that every time, but more often than not, there's so many stones that do slide in a little deep, and that one was a little deep from this Saskatchewan lead at the Inglis. Now Quebec, Sylvie Daniel will try and get one in on top of that Saskatchewan stone behind the center that she threw. Jose trying to get a little bit of curl on that. Good weight, but just does not finish. Now Saskatchewan will try and see if they can get the little hit and roll to sit two behind cover. Get a little finish here, avoid the jam. Will remove their own. No, it does stay on at the back there, so it is Saskatchewan sitting two. Now Marie-Josée Précourt will try and get the hit and roll. Mentioned that this Quebec team lost in the gold medal game last year in Yarmouth to pick up the silver medal. They lost to another Saskatchewan team, skipped by Sherry Anderson, and will hold her curl and go out the back. So Saskatchewan now with hammer looking to sit three. Mentioned that the Saskatchewan team is looking to extend a win streak for their province to 6 straight Canadian women's senior curling championships. Noting, of course, that it was Sherry Anderson that won those 5 in a row. Now Team Nancy Martin looking to see if they can make it 6 in a row. Now that 6 in a row would match the record in Canadian curling, and that's across all Canadian championship events. Only once has it happened that one province has won 6 straight national championships, and wouldn't you know it, it is Saskatchewan. They won the Canadian Women's Curling Championship, now known as the Scotties, from 1969 through 1974. That was Skips Joyce McKee in 69, Dorinda Schoenhals in 1970, Vera Pezer 3 in a row, 71, 72, 73, and then Emily Farnham in 1974. So that's the only other time in Canadian curling history that one province has won 6 straight national championships. Team Nancy Martin has a chance to match that number here. For the team that didn't fully come together until just before the 2023 Saskatchewan Senior Women's Championship. Nancy Inglis, Kathy Inglis, and Deanna Doig were all playing together. They had a player having to bow out before their provincials. So they asked Nancy if she might come aboard, and she did, and all they did was go out and win the provincial championship. So it is Saskatchewan sitting 3 with last rock. Quebec needing to do something pretty special here to avoid giving up a multiple score. But the hit and roll is certainly a possibility here for Joelle Sabarin. She can come across the face and get this one buried. It certainly reduces the risk of giving up 2 or more. That's going to have to curl some, and I think it's going to jam. Would it get the double? No, it's just a straight jam, and it is still Saskatchewan sitting 2. It does get one of the Saskatchewan stones off their circles, but the shooter rolls out. Now another chance to apply some pressure here for Saskatchewan. Deanna Doig will be asked to play the draw. It looks pretty nice. Nancy Martin coming out to give it a hand. Look it by. No, it is just a little bit light. And it will come up short of the rings. So still Saskatchewan sitting 2. Joelle Sabarin. Play the other turn this time. She played her out turn, counterclockwise rotation with her first. She'll be asked to play clockwise rotation, her in turn with this one. Played the hit and roll on the first one, so there is backing at the back 4, and if she can hit this around those staggered guards frozen, it's a big opportunity here for Quebec. By the guards. Now where's the weight? That's the question. I'd love to get this shot rock. And it just comes up a little short, but it is buried, so second shot. As you see, Nancy Martin tap that blue stone at the back of the Ford. That is Saskatchewan sitting shot rock with hammer. Now they'll see if they can come around those staggered guards. Doig now. She has a pretty good sense of the weight. She threw this on her first, just came up a little bit light. Sweeper's not touching this. Hit this above the tee line, but it is going to slide deep. And now, we always talk about that pocket. There is definitely a pocket available for Quebec. Yes, it is Saskatchewan sitting 2, but at the back 4, and if Chantal Osborne can draw up to it, it's going to be awfully tough for Saskatchewan to remove that stone. And, force might be on here, but a big shot here, big opportunity for Chantal Osborne. Hanging out there. Sweeper's not touching this. I'm going to try and see if they can carve it in, but no, that's just heavy and wide. And that will let Saskatchewan off the hook as it'll go out the back. Just about 10 feet too much weight. Now Saskatchewan can potentially protect that path. As mentioned, they are sitting 2 with Hammer. Just a matter of where to put the broom here. Big opportunity for Quebec that they just let get away. As we look across all of the sheets, a lot of low-scoring games, and that's what you might expect as the pressure gets just a little bit ratcheted up. It's still the Everest Canadian Seniors, so a lot of people having a lot of fun, but as you get into these final 2 championship pool games, you can tell these teams are certainly buckling down. Now Nancy and Kathy Inglis trying to drag this in. More than anything, I mean, light is obviously the miss here if you're going to be missing. Just to lock that path. They would have liked that in for a 3rd shot if they could have, but that'll get the job done, I think. Although the way this ice finishes, they might still try. And then there's the other turn as well. They can raise their own stone. They can see, weight, but it will finish on both sides, particularly from the outside in. There's the indication of the weight call from Joel. Just back ring weight. And hair by that guard, the yellow guard that's closest to the hog line. And promote their own stone further into the forefoot. And if they can pull this off, that will not be an easy score for Saskatchewan. Saskatchewan sitting a couple with last rock, but a big opportunity here again. Chantal Osborne. Their final shot here in the 5th end. Jose and Sylvie Daniel working hard to try and get this by that top guard. I think this is just a little bit light. I think the line was okay, but the weight was not there. That needed a little more. So to put 2 on the board for Saskatchewan so far. And is there a shot for 3 here? You can see a good chunk of that forefoot. We just need to touch the forefoot circle, and that will give them 3. Go out wide. Nancy Martin will get a tester on her draw weight. Draw for 3 for Saskatchewan. Two big opportunities there for Quebec to get out of this, and they could not take advantage. This would be a big score for Saskatchewan in what has been a tight game. Got 2, looking for 3. Nancy Martin, last shot here in this 5th end. Weight looks good. Now it's a line. And there it is. A big count of 3 for Saskatchewan. They will take a 5-1 lead here this morning on Team Quebec. We'll be right back after this. Welcome back to the Vernon Curling Club as we head into the sixth end of this morning's featured game between Quebec and Saskatchewan. And Saskatchewan grabbing control of this game with a big count of 3 in the fifth end. And based on that, you'd have to say Quebec seems well on its way to clinching a berth in tomorrow's semifinals. Reminder, you've got 2 8-team championship pools being played here, men's and women's, and the top 4 from each of those championship pools will be in action tomorrow morning at 8:30. Games right here on Curling Canada Plus and TSN Plus. Men's and women's semifinals, first place versus fourth, third versus second. 2 winners go into the gold medal games. The losers play for bronze later on Saturday. So we'll take a quick look at the scoreboard here this morning at the Vernon Curling Club. Here in women's action, the Northwest Territories looking to drag Ontario back to the pack. And it is Ontario, though, Team Susan Froud, with a 6-2 record, taking a deuce in the fourth end to break a tie. And it's a 4-2 lead now over Team Sharon Cormier of the Territories with a 5-3 record. That would be a huge result for Ontario. And Northwest Territories needing to come back for that win, and if they do get the win, they would technically be in a playoff spot. They'd have the head-to-head tiebreaker on Ontario, albeit with one more championship pool game to play later today. Team British Columbia, Team Diane Gushalak from New Westminster, with a 6-2 record, looking to take a step closer to the playoffs. They have just scored 3 themselves. They take 3 in the fifth end, and they are now up 5-2 on Team Nova Scotia. The Saulnier team from Kentville, Andrea Saulnier with a 4-4 record. And they're going to have to come back. They're going to need to win twice today, but they're now down 3, playing the 6th with Hammer. And then the other game, another tight game, and another team in must-win position, Manitoba team Joelle Brown from Winnipeg. They have taken 1 in the fourth. They now lead 2-1. Looks like they've stolen now 1 in the fifth end, so it's a 3-1 lead now for Manitoba over Alberta team Atina Fort Johnson with a 6-2 record. So that's a must-win game for Manitoba, but an Alberta loss would certainly bring the 3-loss teams into play. So we'll see how that plays out. And of course, in our game, it is a 5-1 lead for Saskatchewan, or 4-1 lead for Saskatchewan. No, it is 5-1 Saskatchewan over Quebec. In men's games here this morning, New Brunswick team Grant Odishaw gets a deuce in the fourth end. They take a 3-2 lead over Phil Gorvet's team from Prince Edward Island. New Brunswick at 5-3, PEI at 4-4. Big game between Nova Scotia and BC. Nova Scotia's team Paul Fleming with a 7-1 record. BC's Wes Craig ranked from Duncan at 6-2, and Nova Scotia is in a 2-2 tie with BC. It's a deuce for BC in the fourth end to tie that up. They're playing the fifth. Team Bruce Cordy looking to lock up that playoff position. The Saskatchewan team took its first loss last night, but they are bounced back nicely here this morning at 7-1. They have a 3-1 lead over Quebec's team Francois Roberge. 2 in the first, steal of 1 in the third. Quebec comes back with 1 in the fourth, but it is Saskatchewan with a 2-point lead and Hammer in the fifth. So a 3-1 lead for Saskatchewan. And in the other game, Team Manitoba looking to move closer to a playoff spot with that 6-2 record, but they are down on the scoreboard against Newfoundland Labrador's Mark Noseworthy team. Newfoundland Labrador takes 1 in the fourth to take a 3-2 lead. It is Manitoba with last rock in the fifth. Of course, you can get all the scores all the time right here on curling.ca/scoreboard. curling.ca/scoreboard. And in our game, it is Quebec trying its hardest to generate something here, down 4 with Hammer, but Saskatchewan is playing, as it typically does, airtight defense. They don't mind if they lose one of their own stones there, and they will remove the Saskatchewan stone. And it is Quebec in chase mode, trying desperately to generate that deuce that they need to get back into this game. playing the hit here. A little surprised they don't use that corner guard, if I'm honest. Might have even gotten the cheeky double. No, they don't. It'll roll out to the open side, and that's an easy decision here for Saskatchewan. Just play the hit. Deanna Doig. Open hit to sit 2. Reminder, we'll be back on the air today at 2 p.m. Pacific, 5 p.m. Eastern with seeding pool action here at the 2023 Canadian Seniors. I'm already looking ahead to next year in Moncton, New Brunswick. Deanna Doig takes aim. Quick reminder, of course, that the winning teams, the gold medalists tomorrow, will be wearing the Canadian colors at the 2023 World Senior Curling Championships. That will take place in Östersund, Sweden next April. That event will run in conjunction with the World Mixed Doubles Championship. You see Nancy Martin there. She would love the dilemma. And I've seen it handled before, of playing both mixed doubles and seniors. There have been teams that have navigated that successfully, and it's an attached facility in Östersund, so there wouldn't be much travel. Last year in Gangneung, South Korea, there was about a 15 to 20 minute walk between the two buildings that were used for the World Mixed Doubles and seniors, and there was 1 or 2 players that played both. A nice problem to have for Nancy Martin, but a lot of work to be done before she even starts thinking about that. And the Doig now playing another open hit. This end is going pretty much as you'd like it if you're a Saskatchewan fan. Quebec unable to generate any kind of offense here, and much of that due to the Saskatchewan team just not letting them. No big misses, and that's been a key here. You know, a jam here would have been the opportunity that Quebec needed, but it's just not happening. Now we'll see if Joelle Sabaran can make the hit roll and use that corner guard. Joelle works for the federal government. Also as a, I guess you'd call that as a side hustle, as a massage therapist, nutritionist. Just one of those very, very popular players in the game. Has friends all over this country. Does Joelle. You see the roll just a little too far. Saskatchewan had a couple options here. They could have ripped that corner guard, but maybe a little late in the end to even need to do that. They'll just draw one in and sit a couple and see if they can get the force out of Quebec here. Good position to be in if you're Saskatchewan, up 4. Very, very confident, very, very poised, and that loss yesterday against Manitoba, 11-2, seems to have been firmly left in the rearview mirror. Talked about those seeding pool games that will take place at 2 p.m. Pacific. That's the last round of the seeding pool. Those games are important because they determine the final overall standings, and that will set up the 2 pools for the 2024 Everest Seniors in Moncton, and it also determines the final standings that will be used to determine the MA Cup. Of course, the Member Association's Cup is the annual competition that combines results from all Canadian championships and ranks the 14 member associations. Always a good-natured rivalry between our 14 member associations. It goes a little deep, certainly deeper than Nancy would have liked. And does Quebec now try and freeze? Might even get the thought about maybe the hit and roll, and maybe the shooter would have bounced back up behind that corner guard. Now that would be a special kind of shot, but looks like the freeze will be the call. You see Joelle Sabaran tapping her broom as to where they want this rock to end up. You can see the Quebec back end there, the front end, at the other end of the house. They switched rocks there, so clearly there's a stone that Chantal and the team has figured curls more, or has the characteristics that we need for this particular shot. You can see how much ice she's taken. Pretty close to 6 feet. That's been pretty typical of this ice here at the Vernon Curling Club. Mike Berklinger, the chief ice technician, and the team here at the Vernon Curling Club has done a remarkable job putting together this ice surface that has stood up very, very nicely. Lots of swing, very fast, ideal championship conditions. That one's going to hang out a little more. Maybe a little more weight than they aimed for, and it does not curl up and pushes that Saskatchewan stone back. Yeah, just a little too much weight, and now another chance for Saskatchewan to hit and sit 3. And it's just been that kind of afternoon or morning for Team Quebec. They've been given glimmers of hope here and there, but just have not been able to take advantage. That's what has hurt them in this game. In Saskatchewan, every time they make a mistake, they follow it up with a make, and that's a characteristic of a good curling team. Don't let those misses build up. Full value for this 5-1 lead. So Nancy Martin, the open hit. Just a pure thrower of the rock is Nancy Martin. And right on the nose, as you may expect, and Saskatchewan sitting 3. And Chantal Osborne, no real alternative other than to score the single here and be down 5-2 without playing in the 7th end. Final shot here for Chantal Osborne. I feel like this might be a little heavy. Will slide back. Will it be a steal of 1 or 2 for Saskatchewan? Looking at it closely. Certainly a steal of 1, and we'll let you know if it was 1 or 2 when we come back after this. Back to the Vernon Curling Club, and we will confirm it was a steal of 1 for Saskatchewan. They take a 6-1 lead. Incidentally, that is the same score in the other Quebec-Saskatchewan game here on the ice at the Vernon Curling Club. The men's game between the same 2 provinces. It is Saskatchewan's men's team, skipped by Bruce Cordy, also with a 7-1 record. They have jumped out in front in that game by a 6-1 count, and both of these Saskatchewan teams would lock up playoff berths with wins here this morning. Quebec's team Osborne comes in with a 5-3 record. They would drop to 5-4 with a loss here. That would make it exceedingly difficult, if not impossible, to advance to that championship pool. Standings coming into this 10 a.m. championship pool game, Saskatchewan was leading at 7-1. Then you had Ontario, Alberta, and British Columbia all at 6-2. Northwest Territories and Quebec at 5-3. Quebec trying to generate something here. The corner guard goes up, but Saskatchewan sitting one on the button and looking just very, very comfortable. As mentioned, Saskatchewan would be the first team to qualify for these semifinals if they do win, and as mentioned, they are well on their way. 6-1 lead here. Not going to take any risks. Quebec will try and get one behind that corner guard. Saskatchewan will complete its round-robin schedule tonight at 6 p.m. Pacific time. Play their final game against Ontario. Susan Froud team from Alliston. It stands up as a big game. Ontario currently leading 5-2 over the Territories, so likely that game would decide first place in the pool. That's obviously an advantage as you go into those playoffs. Last rock advantage in the first end would certainly be on the line. Quebec will wrap up its round robin against British Columbia tonight at 6 o'clock. BC on its way to a victory here, leading 5-2 in the sixth end. New Brunswick, or Nova Scotia does have last rock here in the sixth. Lots to play for in that game as well. And Saskatchewan just keeping things clean in that house. Two of their own stones up, corner guard. Quebec still looking for a way to get behind that corner guard. Generate something here in the seventh end, down by 5. And you'd have to say it's been a chase all game for Saskatchewan, for Quebec. They did force Saskatchewan to 1 in the first end, but ever since then they have not been able to generate an end. They haven't been able to build an end, and that really has been the cause of their deficit here. Just unable to string together a good series of shots. So there's the tap and roll. That one worked out nice. Just pokes out the other side, but it's not going to be an easy decision for Saskatchewan as Nancy Martin just calls for the straight peel. Looks like the corner guard will be thrown back up here by Quebec. Trying desperately to generate something here. Be the last national championship event before the new year for Curling Canada events. We'll kick things back off with the Season of Champions, starting with the Scotties Tournament of Hearts. That'll take place at Winsport Sports Center in Calgary. That'll be followed by the Montana's Brier, presented by AGI. That'll take place the first week in March in Regina. And then the BKT Tires World Women's Curling Championship in Sydney, Nova Scotia, took place in the middle of March. Still tickets available for those events, although I will tell you that ticket sales have been extremely good for all those events, but some time here to get some stocking stuffers. Curling.ca/tickets. Curling.ca/tickets. If you want to be a part of those Season of Champions events. It'll be a great year on the Season of Champions. Get things started with that Scotties February 16 to 28 in Calgary. February 16th to 25th. I better get those dates right. Be nice to be in that Sports Center and not be in a bubble. This last time the Scotties was in Calgary was in 2021, and no fans in attendance, just a bunch of people behind closed doors trying to put on a curling championship, and a lot of sticks being jabbed up noses on a regular basis during that event. It'd be nice to just be able to wander around that beautiful building at the site of Canada Olympic Park in Calgary and watch Canada's best curling teams in action. So now a couple Quebec stones in play there. Giving up two would hardly be the end of the world here for Saskatchewan. Savarin with the draw attempt here. Does not want to leave the double for Saskatchewan. I don't think it's there. I also don't see a shot at three here for Quebec. I'm sure Nancy Martin will just throw on real hard at this, and she certainly can throw the up weight very well. Might get some interesting action off that top yellow that's at the back of the button. Might go off both the blue and the yellow behind it and spin out the side, potentially. Just hit it a little bit on the high side. Make sure it hits the blue first when it's being driven back. Or more than anything, you just want to make one of those yellows go away. At least one. Got to hit this on the broom side of the stone for sure. So you're looking at it, Deanna Boyd holding the broom. Would not be a tragedy for Saskatchewan to lose their own stone that's at the back of the floor here. That's certainly more helpful to Quebec than it is to Saskatchewan. Now Nancy's going to come down and have another look at it. Just want to make sure they're on the same page as to where they want it to make contact. What kind of weight they want to throw. First shot here in the seventh end for Nancy Martin. Late extension there just to generate a little more weight. Trying to hit this on the high side of the stone. And it will open it up and kick out both of those stones that were at the back four, so that's a good result for Saskatchewan. A little more weight, as mentioned, that yellow may have, now when I say a little more weight, I'm talking Kevin Cooey weight, but could have spun out the side. I don't know they would have held the shooter like they did, but Quebec is sitting shot rock and wide open. As we said, 2 here for Quebec would not be the end of the world for Saskatchewan. They'll have Hammer and a 3-point lead coming home. You would like the analytics of a situation like that if you're Saskatchewan. So the draw in now for Quebec. Sit a couple. Trying to see if they could get it snuck around half buried behind that top Saskatchewan stone, but it'll be pretty open. Nancy Martin might even take on the slash double here. Saskatchewan team, as it's done throughout this Everest Canadian Seniors, just playing airtight defense, not giving too many opportunities to opponents' teams. Final shot here in this 7th end for Nancy Martin. Looks like it might be over the top. Will it actually get it out? Well, it wasn't pretty, but it does get the job done. It does take out one of the Quebec stones. Nervous couple seconds there for Saskatchewan. That needed to curl up just at the end in order to remove one of the Quebec stones. Otherwise, this could have been a draw for 3. But it will be a draw for 2. Just touch the forefoot, and that will put 2 on the board for Quebec. But Saskatchewan looking good to have a 3-point lead with Hammer coming home. Osborne on the shot here in this 7th end. It's going to finish nicely, and these 2 on the board for Quebec, and coincidentally the men's game, same result. Quebec takes 2 in the 7th over there, so it'll be both Saskatchewan teams leading both Quebec teams 6-3 with Hammer coming home. And we'll be right back after this. Head into the 8th end of today's feature game between Team Quebec and Team Saskatchewan. It is Saskatchewan's team, Nancy Martin, looking like it will lock down its playoff spot here at the 2023 Everest Canadian Senior Men's and Women's Curling Championships. Quebec getting a deuce in the 7th end. It will be Saskatchewan will be just looking to lock things down here, up 3 with the Hammer. Very effective performance here for this team from the Martinsville Curling Club. Nancy Martin's going to go up and take a look and see if that is a tickable rock. We might actually get our first tick measure. I think we will. I want to see if that stone is touching the center line. And if it is touching the center line, it is in the no-tick zone. Officials timeout. They'll bring out the little measuring device that will give them a visual reference as to whether that is touching the center line. That is the key element of the no-tick zone. That stone is off the center line, then it is tickable by Saskatchewan. Rule in effect for all national championship events that lead to a world championship here this season. There's that little right angle that will give them the indication of whether that stone can be ticked by Saskatchewan. We haven't seen too many ticks attempted here. And if there's one element I wish umpires would visually indicate whether it's tickable or not, but there's no indication there, so we're going to assume that it was. Well, they might be playing the tick here, so let's see if Kathy Inglis is indeed trying the tick. I think they are trying the tick, so clearly that stone is not touching the line. Looks like it's close. And it will just slide by. Good attempt there by Saskatchewan. So now Quebec will try and put another center guard up. Try and get it to that center line. Sylvie Daniel. Just in front of the house would be a pretty good spot for this. They do not obviously want it on the rings, but the sweepers seem to indicate that this might be a little warm. Looks like that will slide in, so now they'll try and take it a little deeper, see if they can get it half buried, but it won't. I don't think we'll see a tick here. Oh, maybe. Making yellows go away is the key here for Saskatchewan, and this is certainly the only yellow that they can actually take out of play, so that'll be the call. Nancy Inglis. The miss, if you're going to miss, would be tight to see if you can tick that guard. You just don't want to miss it wide. They do not especially want their own shooter to stay up there either, as you see Nancy Martin ready to sweep it to the side. And good result there for Saskatchewan. And another guard is the call here for Quebec's second, Jose Precourt. And then the peeling will start for Saskatchewan. I can tell you that we do have a final in men's action. Team New Brunswick, Grant Odishaw team, playing out of Grand Falls and Pearl Moncton. They have defeated Prince Edward Island's team Phil Brevet 7-3, a deuce in the seventh end, and there's handshakes on that game. So that improves New Brunswick's record to 7-3, 6-3, pardon me. They would still need a loss by either BC or Manitoba to get into a tie for that last playoff spot, and even then, it still will depend on tiebreakers. Manitoba currently in a 4-4 tie with Newfoundland Labrador. BC is leading Nova Scotia in their game. As you can see, the peeling has begun for Team Saskatchewan. And we can tell you that the BC Team West Prague has in fact completed its victory. They steal 5 in the seventh end. They sail to a 9-2 win over Nova Scotia. So that leaves both teams with 7-2 records, still in playoff positioning right now. As we mentioned, the top four will advance. It's second loss for Nova Scotia. But right now, as it stands, the two lost teams would be in line for a playoff spot in the men's side. Our game, back throwing guards, and the counting has begun here for Saskatchewan. Not only are they making peels, they're making double peels. Quebec running out of rocks here. And Saskatchewan looking better and better all the time to lock down its spot in the semifinals. First women's final to report, it is Ontario's team Susan Proud that takes 3 in the 7th end. And they finish off an 8-3 win over the Northwest Territories. So Ontario improves to 7-2. The Territories drop to 5-4. Rock will go a little deep and it'll be pretty much open. It is Saskatchewan sitting the shot. They're thinking about the draw here, but I just can't imagine why they wouldn't want to just remove that Quebec stone. That would leave Quebec with 3 stones to play, needing them all to count. And oh yeah, Saskatchewan has hammers, so not an ideal position. So Deanna Doig will play the hit. And right on the nose. I guess if you're being picky, they would have said they would have liked that to roll off the rings. Because there's either the draw behind or the freeze available for Quebec, but again, Quebec is definitely in cross your fingers mode here, needing to make 3 perfect ones and hope Saskatchewan misses 3 in a row. It just hasn't happened this game. Severin, her final shot here in this 8th end. Line's looking good. Just a little warm, and the Saskatchewan stone rolls off the rings. Now here is Deanna Doig with a chance to end this game and run Quebec out of rocks. Open hit for the win. That will do it. So it is Saskatchewan. They have booked their spot in tomorrow morning's semifinals. They finish off a 6-3 win over Quebec. A reminder, we will be back for seeding pool action this afternoon at 2 p.m. Pacific, 5 p.m. Eastern, right here on Curling Canada Plus, as well as on TSN Plus. So for now, this is Al Cameron saying so long to Curling.